I just can't figure this thing out for the life of me. You spend all year working to get to one point, one common goal. It's the Super Bowl. Free agency, the draft, OTAs, all the off-season conditioning work that guys do, the mini camps, training camp, preseason, regular season, 16 games, playoffs, to get to the Super Bowl. That's what you've worked for. That entire team has worked for. I cannot figure out for the life of me a guy like Bill Belichick, who has been as a head coach to 7 previous Super Bowls, not to mention the 2 that he was a part of as a defensive coordinator under Parcells with the Giants, that you're going to sit there and take one of your best defensive players and not only not start him, not only not play him for a couple of series, but Bill Belichick benched Malcolm Butler for the entire game in the biggest damn game of the year. How'd that work out, Bill? Like, I mean it. This dude is the greatest NFL head coach of all time. And sometimes the decisions that he makes, to me, which reek of an overconfidence in self, an overbelief in system, an arrogance of the Patriot way, clouds his better judgment. Because I'm sorry, what possible justification can you have? A guy who was a Super Bowl hero just a few short years ago, that's been a Pro Bowl corner, who started almost every damn game for you in the regular season and was a starter for you in both of your playoff games to get to this point. Now you get to the Super Bowl and you're benching him? And not only that, you're making the decision at the 11th damn hour at the last minute? What the hell is going on here? Now, in the couple of days after the Super Bowl, we've started to see reports about what it could have been. There's been allegations of this with Malcolm Butler, missing curfew, other things. We don't know if they're true. We don't know if they're not. But clearly it had to be something big and significant to sit there and sit out a guy like Malcolm Butler and continue to stick to your guns sitting him out as your defensive secondary is getting absolutely torched by Nick goddamn Foles. It's got to be something. Was it worth it, though? At what point in time does sticking to your guns and sticking to your principles no longer be beneficial? At what point in time do you inflict harm on that person and you unnecessarily inflict harm on everybody else? Now, if Malcolm Butler, let's say, missed curfew, he deserves to not start. I'm fine with that. You hold him out a series or two. That way you've still sent a message, and that way you're saying that nobody's above the law here. We all have standards that we have to meet. I don't think you lose the locker room. You gain respect from the locker room because you're holding everybody to the same standard. You're holding people accountable while not doing it in a way that it can be detrimental to the team. Imagine how ridiculous this is for that locker room to sit there and say, why the hell is Malcolm Butler not playing, but these guys that I don't even know, and we play on this damn team, we might not even know what the hell their names are sitting there lining up at corner and getting absolutely torched. Like, what the hell was he thinking? You want to make a statement, that's fine, but the only statement that you made at this point without any other evidence, which you're not going to give us and we may or may not ever truly actually get, is you were too stubborn to admit your poor decision and backtrack from it. You dug in your heels no matter what, even if it potentially cost your team a Super Bowl, because I refuse to believe that a Malcolm Butler, even if he wasn't having his best year in 2017, was going to be that much of a detriment, where your defense was going to be any worse than what the hell it was. You gave up 41 points, dude. 41 damn points. You can't tell me it was worth sitting Malcolm Butler as part of the Patriot way to watch your defense get absolutely embarrassed and torched. And by the way, Lions fans, good luck with Matt Patricia. Indianapolis Colts fans, not so much with Josh McDaniels. Your defense gave up 41 points. Unless you busted this dude with a dime sack of weed or sitting there snorting coke off of strippers' ass cracks, at some point in time he's got to be in that game. Because if you are going to use in public a football explanation, there is no sound football explanation that says Malcolm Butler shouldn't play a single defensive snap in the God-blessed Super Bowl. If you're going to talk about a punishment thing, unless he really did something bad. And being sick is not an excuse. This is the biggest goddamn game of the year. You can't tell me Malcolm Butler wasn't going to be ready to give it his all and be ready to frickin' play. Missing curfew, was it really that serious? Is it really that important, dude? I mean, Jesus Christ. At some point in time, this is like the overprotective, over-domineering, overbearing parents that are strict about everything, and they never allow any leeway, they never bend, and ultimately what happens is their kids just wait until they're 18, they freaking go nuts and wild and do all this other dumb shit because their parents are fucking morons and they never backed off. And they grow to resent their goddamn parents, as they should. Because you shouldn't always be so damn miserable. Like, I'm not saying be like Nick Saban and be like, oh, you got arrested for a DUI, and you're firing guns in the air. No jumping jacks in the calisthenics circle before the game for you, and I mean it, mister. But damn, there has to be more to this story. Malcolm Butler had to have snapped on a coach, hit a coach, and even if that's the case, when you've got players talking about they don't know that Malcolm Butler's been benched until right before the game, they don't know. That means that you did not plan and prepare for this. That means that you just made the call. That means that you made perhaps an irrational decision that could have potentially cost your team the Super Bowl. Bill Belichick is an all-time great coach. As I just mentioned earlier, the greatest head coach of all time in NFL history, to my estimation. The dude has taken his team to 8 Super Bowls. But sometimes it is the arrogance of belief in himself, his system, and the Patriot way that really jumps up and bites his team at key critical times. And this is one of them. You got freaking gunned and hosed down by Nick Foles, dude. Nick Foles! You're supposed to be some great genius, but you couldn't figure out at some point in time it might be a good idea to put in one of your best defensive players, one of your best corners, against an offense that's absolutely tearing you the fuck apart. Unbelievable. There's got to be something way more to this, because otherwise, based off of what we've heard at this moment, it makes absolutely no damn sense.